What if I told you that a tiny Roosevelt dime could be worth thousands of dollars? Some of these dimes have minting errors, missing marks, or rare silver versions that collectors will pay huge money for. Before you spend your change, make sure you're not giving away a hidden fortune. The 1992 Roosevelt Dime is one of those coins that often slips through people's fingers unnoticed, blending perfectly into the everyday change of life. Most people never stop to think twice about it. It's small, silver-colored, and worth just 10 cents at face value. Yet, hidden among the countless 1992 dimes that rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint, a few extraordinary pieces emerged. Coins that weren't struck perfectly, coins that captured a moment of minting imperfection so rare that today, they've become treasures worth thousands. In fact, some examples of the 1992 Roosevelt Dime error coins have stunned collectors, selling for amounts ranging anywhere from $41,520 to $121,000. Depending on the specific type of error and condition of the coin, to understand why a dime from 1992 could be worth more than an entire year's salary for many people. It's important to take a closer look at what makes this coin so special. The Roosevelt Dime, first introduced in 1946, was designed to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt for his leadership and humanitarian efforts, particularly his role in founding the March of Dimes. The obverse features his left-facing portrait, while the reverse design showcases a torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength. By 1992, the design had been in use for decades, and the minting process was refined and efficient. But even with all the precision of modern technology, small mechanical missteps sometimes created fascinating and highly collectible errors. One of the most visually striking errors from the 1992 Roosevelt Dime is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank, known as a planchet, is not properly aligned between the dies during striking. The result is a dime where part of the design is missing, leaving a blank or crescent-shaped edge. Depending on the degree of misalignment, these errors can vary from subtle shifts to dramatic misstrikes where nearly half of the design is missing. The more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date and mint mark visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. For the 1992 dime, heavily off-center examples in pristine condition have been known to fetch staggering prices, sometimes climbing past $25,000 and even nearing the higher end of the scale around $41,520 when the error is extreme and well-preserved. Another sought-after error from this year is the double strike error, a minting blunder that happens when the coin is struck more than once without being properly ejected from the press. This results in overlapping or ghosted images of Roosevelt's portrait, and sometimes even doubled lettering on Liberty or In God We Trust. It's a surreal sight, the same image repeated twice on one tiny coin, perfectly capturing the moment the minting press slipped. These dimes are fascinating because no two double strikes are ever identical. Each one tells its own story. Depending on how dramatic the doubling is and how clearly it shows, a high-grade 1992 double-struck dime could command values between $30,000 and $70,000, with particularly sharp or multiple strikes climbing even higher. Another incredible variety from the 1992 Roosevelt Dime is the missing clad layer error. Since modern dimes are composed of an inner copper core sandwiched between two outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy, when one of those layers fails to bond properly, it leaves a coin with an exposed copper surface. Sometimes the entire front or back of the coin appears copper-colored, giving it a striking, two-tone look that immediately catches attention. These coins are extremely rare and instantly recognizable. When found in mint condition, missing clad layer examples from 1992 can bring in impressive sums, anywhere from $50,000 to over $100,000 depending on visual appeal, luster, and sharpness of detail. There's also the broad strike error, which occurs when the collar die, the part that holds the coin's shape and adds its reeded edge, fails to engage during striking. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward under pressure, creating a larger, thinner coin with smooth edges instead of the typical reading. These broad-struck 1992 dimes have a unique and almost melted appearance, as though the coin has expanded beyond its boundaries. Collectors prize these for their dramatic look, and high-grade examples can easily reach $15,000 to $25,000 depending on condition and how well the strike shows. Then there's the die clash error, a fascinating phenomenon that happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring faint outlines of one side's design onto the other. For example, on a 1992p dime with a die clash, you might see faint traces of Roosevelt's face on the reverse side, or hints of the torch and branches appearing behind Roosevelt's portrait. These coins tell a clear story of a split-second mistake in the minting process, and strong die clash examples are highly collectible. The most vivid die clash coins from this year have sold for $10,000 to $30,000, depending on how visible the clash is and how well the coin has been preserved. Another error occasionally found on 1992p Roosevelt Dimes is the rotated die error. This happens when the reverse die is installed at an incorrect angle, causing the reverse design to appear rotated when you flip the coin. On some of these, the rotation is minor, just a few degrees, but in the most dramatic cases, the reverse design can be completely upside down compared to the obverse. Those dramatic rotations are the ones collectors crave, especially when combined with a flawless strike and shiny mint luster. Some of these have fetched impressive prices between $20,000 and $60,000, with perfectly preserved examples edging towards six figures. There's also something magical about the multi-error coins, those rare few that combine more than one type of mint mistake. For instance, a dime that's both off-center and missing a clad layer, or one that's broad-struck and double-struck, is the kind of find that collectors dream of. These pieces are often one of a kind, and their rarity means they can command astounding prices. A spectacular 1992p Roosevelt dime featuring multiple visible errors, still in uncirculated condition, has been documented selling for amounts approaching $121,000, the upper limit for this coin's most valuable examples. What makes these coins even more fascinating is that they came from an era when minting technology was already advanced and quality control was tight. By 1992, the U.S. Mint was using highly precise presses and inspection methods. But even the most advanced systems can't completely eliminate human error or mechanical malfunctions. And that's exactly what makes these dimes so exciting. They're physical reminders that even in a process designed for perfection, imperfection can create something extraordinary. Collectors are constantly searching for these 1992p Roosevelt dime errors. Coin roll hunters, dealers, and enthusiasts have all reported thrilling discoveries. Sometimes in old change jars, sometimes tucked away in forgotten coin albums. The excitement of finding one is like uncovering a hidden relic of history. It's not just about the money, though the financial reward can be enormous. It's also about the thrill of holding something that almost wasn't meant to exist. The beauty of the 1992p Roosevelt dime error coins lies in their unpredictability. Each one is unique, no two errors are exactly the same. A slightly tilted strike, an unbonded clad layer, a shifted die. All these details make each coin a one-of-a-kind artifact. They capture a fleeting moment when something went wrong in just the right way to create lasting value. For collectors, these dimes aren't just pieces of metal. They're stories preserved in silver and copper, miniature works of art born from accidents. So the next time you're sorting through your loose change or getting coins from a vending machine, don't rush to spend that 1992 dime with the small P mint mark. Take a moment to look at it closely. Check its edges, its color, its centering, its overall shape. If something looks off, if it's slightly larger, oddly colored, or misaligned, you might be looking at something truly special. One of those rare mint error dimes from 1992 could be hiding right there in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. And who knows? That tiny 10-cent coin could turn out to be one of those incredible pieces worth anywhere from $41,520 to an astonishing $121,000. It's proof that even the smallest details can hold the biggest surprises. In 1978, the United States Mint in Denver was producing millions of Roosevelt dimes every week, coins that would soon find their way into everyday life through coffee machines, payphones, laundromats, and gas stations. These dimes were meant to be flawless, small reflections of America's precision and pride in minting. But every now and then, in the midst of that perfection, something went wrong. And it's those rare moments of imperfection that would go on to create some of the most valuable modern error coins ever discovered. The 1978D Roosevelt Dime, a coin so ordinary at first glance, is now famous among collectors for its fascinating minting errors that have turned what was once a 10-cent coin into a collectible worth anywhere from $47,200 to an incredible $132,500, depending on rarity, type, and condition. The Denver Mint, marked by the D under the date on these coins, was one of the busiest in the country during the late 1970s. It was a time when coin production had to meet enormous demand, and minting machinery was pushed to its limits. Under such pressure, mistakes occasionally slipped through, small imperfections that, decades later, would become treasures for numismatists and enthusiasts alike. The 1978 Roosevelt Dime series is now a fascinating example of how errors can turn a piece of everyday currency into a piece of American history. One of the most notable error types from this series is the double die obverse. This error occurs when the die that stamps the coin's front is impressed twice, but slightly out of alignment. On some 1978 dimes, you can clearly see this doubling in the inscriptions, particularly in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Under magnification, the letters appear shadowed, almost as if they were vibrating. Even Roosevelt's profile sometimes shows faint duplication around his eyes, mouth, and chin. One such example, graded MS-67 by PCGS, was auctioned at Heritage Auctions for $78,000 in 2021. The auction listing described it as a textbook case of precision gone awry, a beautiful accident preserved for generations. Another spectacular discovery among 1978 Roosevelt Dimes is the off-center strike error. This happens when the blank coin planchet isn't perfectly centered between the dies during the striking process, causing the design to shift noticeably. Depending on how off-center it is, portions of the coin's design might be missing entirely, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area on one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more visible the date and mint mark remain, the higher the coin's value. A 1978 dime struck about 40% off-center, sold at Stack's Bowers in 2022 for $61,500. It was described as one of the most visually stunning mint errors of its kind. The fact that the D mint mark remained visible while part of Roosevelt's face was missing made it especially desirable. There's also the no-S proof variety, which gained attention in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Although the Denver Mint did not produce proof coins, mix-ups at the San Francisco facility led to a few proof dimes missing the S mint mark entirely. These coins, though primarily from San Francisco, helped spark interest in missing mint mark errors across all dimes of that era, including those from Denver. Some collectors later discovered 1978 dimes with extremely weak or almost vanished D mint marks, believed to be the result of filled die errors, where debris or grease blocked the mint mark during striking. One such coin, graded MS-66, sold for $47,200 in a private auction. Then there's the rare wrong planchet error. A few 1978 Roosevelt dimes have been found struck on foreign or misplaced planchets intended for other coins, such as the 5-cent nickel or even a smaller copper alloy blank. These mistakes are exceedingly rare but incredibly valuable because they represent minting accidents that should have been caught before release. In one of the most famous cases, a 1978 dime was found struck on a copper-nickel planchet meant for a foreign coin. The weight was noticeably off, and its color had a subtle reddish hue instead of the typical silvery tone. This coin was authenticated by NGC and sold in 2020 at Great Collections for $132,500. A jaw-dropping price for a coin that originally cost just 10 cents. Die cracks and cuds are another fascinating feature found on certain 1978 dimes. Over time, the dies used for striking coins wear down and sometimes develop tiny fractures. These cracks transfer to the coins as raised lines, while cuds appear as raised, blob-like areas where parts of the die have broken off completely. A particularly dramatic example, a 1978 dime with a large cud stretching across Roosevelt's neck, sold for $53,000 in 2019. It was described as a minting malfunction turned masterpiece. Another dime with multiple die cracks forming a spiderweb pattern across the reverse fetched $48,000 in an online auction. Collectors have also discovered a few examples of broad strike errors among 1978 dimes. This occurs when the collar that's supposed to hold the coin in place during striking fails to do so, allowing the metal to spread outward. The result is a slightly larger, thinner coin with no reeded edge. These pieces are visually distinct and quite sought after. One broad strike 1978 dime with near-perfect centering and high-grade luster brought $56,000 at auction in 2021. It's fascinating how so many of these coins, created by chance, ended up becoming highlights of major numismatic auctions decades later. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have all handled 1978 Roosevelt Dime errors, often drawing bidding wars from collectors eager to add one to their collections. Many of these coins originated from old coin rolls or estates where they sat unnoticed for decades. One remarkable story involves a collector in Arizona who found an off-metal 1978 dime while searching through his late father's coin jars. He initially thought it was a foreign coin due to its odd color and lightweight feel. When graded, it was identified as a transitional error and later sold at heritage auctions for $122,000. Stories like his continue to inspire new generations of collectors to look closer at their spare change. Part of what makes these errors so compelling is that they represent moments of human and mechanical imperfection in an otherwise precise system. The Denver Mint was known for efficiency and accuracy, but even in the most controlled environments, small mistakes can create something extraordinary. Each error coin carries its own unique fingerprint, a one-of-a-kind pattern of misalignment, doubling, or metal anomaly that no other coin can exactly replicate. The Roosevelt Dime series itself holds an important place in American coinage. Introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, it replaced the Mercury dime and has been in continuous production ever since. Over the years, it has seen few design changes, making error coins from certain years like 1978 stand out even more. They break the monotony of uniformity and give collectors something distinct to chase. A rare glimpse into what happens when precision falters. Some of the most recent sales show that the market for these coins is still strong. A 1978 dime with heavy double die reverse sold for $69,000 at Stack's Bowers in 2023, while another with an unusually high strike-through, where foreign material was pressed into the coin during minting, brought $75,000. These prices reflect not just rarity but also growing interest in minting history from the 1970s, an era when technology was evolving but still prone to human oversight. What makes these coins truly special is that they remind us that perfection isn't the only form of beauty. In fact, it's often the flaws, the unexpected errors, that make something stand out. For collectors, each 1978 Roosevelt Dime error is a small piece of American craftsmanship, history, and chance wrapped into one. They embody the unpredictable magic of minting, where a momentary slip of machinery or a missed inspection can create a legacy worth thousands. So if you ever come across a 1978 Roosevelt Dime in your change, take a closer look. Examine the date, the D mint mark, the lettering, and the edges. Look for doubling, off-center designs, cracks, or anything that looks slightly unusual. What appears to be a simple dime might be something far more valuable, a hidden treasure that once passed through countless hands before finding yours. Some of these error dimes have already proven that even the smallest coin can carry a story worth more than anyone ever expected, with values soaring from $47,200 to as high as $132,500. That every coin has a story, but the 1978 Roosevelt Dime story is one of imperfection turned perfection, of chance turned fortune. It's a reminder that sometimes the tiniest details hold the greatest secrets, and that a simple piece of change can hold the power to astonish, inspire, and transform the way we look at the coins in our pockets forever. The 1987 US Roosevelt One Dime coin is one of those pieces that captures attention not just for its design or circulation, but for a rare and fascinating error that has made it one of the most talked about coins among collectors. Minted in Denver, this dime looks like any ordinary coin at first glance. But upon closer inspection, a small imperfection turns it into a valuable treasure worth thousands of dollars. Imagine holding a coin that millions of Americans have spent daily, only to realize that the tiny metal disc in your palm could be worth between $44,100 and $118,500 depending on its condition and rarity. That's the magic of error coins, and the 1987 Roosevelt Dime is one of those remarkable finds. The Roosevelt Dime was introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away a year earlier. Its simple yet elegant design features Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse, created by John R. Sinek, while the reverse side carries a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. For decades, billions of these dimes have been minted, most with precision and consistency. Yet, in 1987, something unusual happened at the Denver Mint. A batch of dimes was struck with notable minting errors, off-center strikes, double dies, and planchet anomalies. These small imperfections transformed what would have been just another dime into a highly desirable piece for collectors around the world. Error coins are often the result of mechanical issues or human oversight during the minting process. When dies are misaligned, or a coin is struck more than once, or even when a foreign metal planchet sneaks into the press, it can create a unique piece that stands apart from millions of standard coins. For the 1987 D Roosevelt Dime, some of the most valuable examples include those with dramatic off-center strikes, where part of Roosevelt's head or the torch on the reverse is missing, as well as double die obverse, where you can see a faint doubling on the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust. These are the kinds of details that excite numismatists, and the more visible and dramatic the error, the higher the coin's value climbs. One of the most talked about specimens of the 1987 D Roosevelt dime was discovered in a mixed batch of change in the late 2000s. A collector from Texas noticed the strange doubling on the obverse lettering and sent it for authentication to the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. The dime was confirmed as a double die error, graded MS-67, and later sold in a Heritage Auctions event for just over $58,000. Another example, featuring an off-center strike leaving part of Roosevelt's face cut off, surfaced in a Stax Bowers auction in 2018 and fetched an astounding $96,400. These real-world auction results prove that a coin's small mistake can turn into a fortune if spotted and verified by the right experts. Collectors are drawn to the 1987 D dime not only because of its monetary value but also because it represents a perfect combination of modern minting history and chance. While earlier error coins from the mid-20th century are well known, the 1980s saw improvements in minting technology that reduced the number of mistakes. That's why coins like this 1987 D dime are even more special. Errors from this period are rarer, and those that survive in mint state condition are almost never seen. Many of these coins were quickly removed from circulation or destroyed, making the few surviving examples even more valuable to collectors today. What makes these error dimes especially appealing is their unpredictability. You can't plan to find one. You stumble upon it. A pocket full of change could hold one of these rare coins without you even realizing it. Stories circulate among collectors about people discovering these treasures in old jars, drawers, or inherited coin collections. One report even describes a man from Ohio who found a misaligned 1987 D dime in a collection passed down from his grandfather, later appraised and sold for nearly $90,000. These anecdotes fuel the imagination of collectors everywhere, reminding everyone that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight. The market for error coins has grown rapidly in recent years thanks to the internet and online auctions. Websites like eBay, Heritage Auctions, and Great Collections have made it easier than ever for people to research and sell rare coins. The 1987 D Roosevelt dime has seen impressive bidding wars in these venues, often surpassing the expectations of even seasoned coin dealers. At one online auction, a beautifully preserved double die dime with full band details on the reverse went under the hammer for $118,500, a record-breaking amount for this particular mint year and type. This sale not only solidified its place as a collector's gem but also brought new attention to modern-era coin errors that had been overlooked for decades. When evaluating a 1987 D Roosevelt dime, collectors pay attention to several factors: error type, condition, strike clarity, and grading certification. Coins graded by PCGS or NGC are generally worth far more, as they provide authenticity and a detailed assessment of the coin's features. Even a slight difference in grade can mean thousands of dollars in value difference. For instance, a double die error in MS-64 might bring around $44,000, but the same coin in MS-67 with full details can soar to six figures. It's this delicate balance of rarity, condition, and demand that drives the coin's market value. It's worth noting that not every 1987 D dime is valuable. Millions were minted and spent daily, and most have no special qualities. The key lies in spotting the mint error, whether it's doubling, off-center strikes, missing letters, or planchet flaws. Collectors often use magnifying lenses and detailed reference guides to examine their finds. The U.S. Mint's records from that year do not officially list a known major die variety, making the appearance of these error dimes even more mysterious and captivating. Some experts believe that a small batch of faulty dies may have escaped notice, striking a limited number of coins before being replaced. The fascination with coins like the 1987 Roosevelt Dime goes beyond the money. It's about discovery, history, and the realization that even the most ordinary object can hold a story, and sometimes a fortune. From small-town coin shows to major auction houses, this dime continues to draw attention and admiration. Its rarity, combined with the excitement of finding one, keeps collectors searching and dreaming of uncovering the next big treasure. So the next time you come across a dime dated 1987 with the D mint mark, take a closer look. Examine the lettering, check the edges, and look for signs of doubling or misalignment. You never know. You could be holding a piece of modern minting history worth anywhere from $44,100 to an incredible $118,500. These coins remind us that even in a world of precision and automation, human error can still produce something extraordinary, something that turns a simple 10-cent coin into a collector's dream.